Alright guys, we are back at the shop, CES Motorsport. We have the shop M4 on the lift. We are about to do a compression test. So as you guys know, this is the $23,000 M4 with 117,000 miles on it. We're doing a full refresh, bunch of maintenance, and eventually it will be a single turbo S55 build, which we're actually going to be starting the moment that we finish all of the maintenance. So everything is here for the maintenance. It's over there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But first we want to make sure that this motor is good. We're going to do a compression test right now. Good. 210. Cylinder 1. Well, now you guys can finally see how caked with oil this engine actually is. They good?
More than 210.
So we had 210 for cylinder 1, 230-ish for cylinder 2. They good? Yeah, 235. Cylinder 4. Good. Right under 240.
Cylinder 5.
You're good. Alright. Same, 230-ish.
Last one, cylinder 6.
Cylinder 6.
Let it rip.
We're good. Yeah, 230.
It's good.
All right, compression's good. So now we can start with some of the maintenance we have to do. We have a few things over here. We are doing new injectors, of course, bunch of different seals, new valve cover gasket, and we have the insane 2-pin crank hub that we're going to be doing. Big shout out to these guys for sending this out, and we will talk a little bit about the importance of doing the crank hub in this car, especially with this one since we are going single turbo. It's going to make big power. Definitely a good idea to pin that crank hub. We are right at the point where we are ready to drop subframe and pull out the actual old crank hub as well as the Crankhub Bolt. Turns out that this the Crankhub Bolt in this car was actually loose. Not like completely loose, but loose enough that it was probably only a matter of time before this engine actually went out of time and spun the hub. Pretty concerning considering that we were still driving the car, but at least we are taking care of it now. We're kind of in the middle of doing all of the maintenance on this car, so there are just so many things that we are addressing all at once. But of course the crank hub is one of them. We are also going to be doing the rod bearings as well, so everything has to come down, and that's why we are dropping the subframe. If you are doing the crank hub in general, should always drop subframe, should always drop the oil pan. You do not want metal sitting inside of your motor, because when you're drilling into that crankshaft, of course, metal is going to come out, get into the pan and everything, and you just want to make sure that you're not getting that stuff inside of your engine. So we're doing it the right way. That crank hub out of here.
We can get this thing out of here. Oh, there's the other part.
Just kidding, right on. It was ready. This one was ready to spin.
It was right about to spin.
Yeah. And this was pretty loose, right?
Yeah, it was already loose.
It was already loose.
I only put like a little bit of effort.
It was like
on
only a matter of time before this thing spun on me.
That's crazy.
Crazy. Yeah. Time for a pin one. And now we're gonna see what the bearings are like in this car too. cylinder is this?
Cylinder 3.
Let's see. How does that look? Is this bottom?
Yeah. I didn't take the top one out.
It doesn't look, you know,
They don't look bad.
terrible, really.
Alright, so how do you do the whole top one? Push it up by hand?
Yeah. Yeah. Put your hand up while you're doing it too. Yeah.
What?
You have to just pop this up, push the rod out, make sure it doesn't touch the crank,
Yeah.
and then you see it? You gotta pry it off. Do you see the bearing?
Yeah, I see it, yeah.
Okay. And you just pop the bearing out. Are you gonna cut it? What? To make it look like I did it really fast?
What do you think?
I don't know. I'm just trying to look professional, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that I usually make you look professional in videos?
I don't know. Look, I didn't even look at it. It's
Ooh,
crazy. You saw that, Brandon?
Yeah, I saw that.
Alright.
It doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look that bad.
Well, actually, there is some wear in the center there. It's like kind of like, almost looks like copper in the center. I don't know.
It's not great.
But the rod side is always, the top side's always has more wear.
Sees more wear than the bottom.
Yeah, it always sees more wear.
Alright, so we'll just...
Gets abused.
What kind of bearings are we doing?
These are Calico coated 5150 rod bearings
Nice. From High-On?
from High-On.
Sweet.
And then we have ARP rod bolts as well for the S55 motor.
Which cylinder usually has the most amount of wear? Equal.
I think, yeah, I think so. On these motors, yeah.
Yep.
And then you just kind of slide it on there.
You kind of go like where the
Yeah,
tube
you
is.
line it up there, and then you just push it down. Make sure it's even on both sides here. It's not gonna be like perfect, but
Yeah.
somewhat even. And then that's ready to go.
And then,
And then you lube up your bolts, the bottom and the threads. And then, yeah, you want to do the top. So when you get in there,
And then before you put it in here, just make sure you put grease on top
Assembly
of the
lube.
bearing
Yeah, assembly
in
lube.
between the...
yeah, not
So you spin it.
Not in between. Not in between. There is actually people actually do that.
People do
They'll like lube the bottom of that. It's like you don't want to do that.
Oh, like this here?
Yeah.
And I was like, put assembly lube in between the bearing and the
Oh, yeah.
Obviously not a good idea, unless you want to spin it. So let's talk a little bit as to how the crank-up failure happens and why we go with the 2-pin or the 4-pin on these cars. I'm gonna pass you guys over to Hendel.
All right, what's up guys? It's Hendel over at CES Motorsport here. Today we're gonna talk about the insane crank hub. We have our shop in 4 here that we are working on. Still has the factory crank hub. It's got about, I think, 128,000 miles. And this is a stock crank hub. It is a 2-piece design with friction washers in between. And you can actually see here, this friction washer is actually damaged. Broken. But yeah, the failure point on these is the 2-piece design causes the timing chain for the engine to move and actually causes piston to valve contact, and then your motor's, you know, toast. You have no compression at that point. And then your upgraded Insane, this is a 2-pin design. It's a full 1-piece CNC piece. Has no splits, or it's not keyed. We like the single piece design just because it's less failure points, just one whole piece. We've never seen a failure with the Insane crank hubs. We run them on 1,000 horsepower cars, no issues. Our engine, being that it's a higher mileage engine, did have a loose Crankhub bolt. We didn't usually, the lower mileage Crankhubs that we do, the bolts feel tighter. This bolt was definitely loose. It just came right out easily.
Was the car out of time at all or no?
It wasn't out of time, no. But we have seen Crankhubs get loose, or the bolts get loose just on their own, and then that can also cause a crank-hub failure.
So what are your thoughts when people say that doing the crank hub is a myth?
Some cars have 150,000 miles, no crank-up issues. Other cars have 30,000 miles and crank-up issues. It also depends on how people drive them. If you're hitting that kickdown switch all the time, or if you are just, doing donuts or drifting all the time, you're more prone to spinning the crank-up. But other guys track their cars and they've never done a crank-up, so it's hard to say. It's not really a myth because we do see them fail, and just the bolts alone can back out, and that causes a crank-up failure. There's different variables to it. It's hard to say, but I would do it. It's a peace of mind, and you're not spending another $15,000 on a used motor for your car. So you're spending, we charge $5K here, so it's a fraction of it, and you're not having to spend or get another motor.
Do we drop the oil pan?
We do drop the oil pan, so when we drill into the crank hub, we have to drop the oil pan because there is metal debris that gets in the motor, and we make sure that's all cleaned out and you don't have any issues. Some shops or other shops, they just put a piece of cardboard in there, and maybe you can get away with doing that, but we don't recommend that. Plus, you're getting all your seals done at the same time. You get new front main seal, vacuum seals, valve cover gasket gets replaced, and then you get an oil pan gasket replaced. So that's the benefit of having the crank hub done. You get all those seals done at the same time, so you're also doing maintenance while you're there.
It's like an entire refresh.
Yep, correct.
Do you prefer the 2-pin or the 4-pin?
It doesn't really matter. They're the same. There isn't really, the pin's not really meant to hold the torque. It's just to keep it in place. And it is a one-piece design. So the keyed version, it's a 2-piece design. It's fine. They work too, but just less failure points with the Insane.
Sure. Have you done the spline lock version?
No, I've never done the spline lock version. No.
Have you heard of anyone doing that?
I think they had issues with the first generation that came out, and then I guess they fixed them with the V2 version that's out now, and people have had good luck with them.
So we did rod bearings on this car. How do these rod bearings look to you? Would you recommend other S55 owners do rod bearings?
They don't look bad. Rod bearings, it's not really an issue on the S55 engine. If you're there like we were, we just did them for peace of mind, just because we don't know what the previous history of the vehicle was. But if you had your car with like 0 miles, bought it brand new, and you babied it, and you're at 120,000 miles now, I really wouldn't be too concerned about S55 rod bearings. They're not really, it's not like the E46 or the S65 engine where they go through bearings pretty fast. They're not that bad, honestly. And
then in addition to crank hub bearings, what else are we addressing like in total while this car is up here?
Coolant lines. It had a massive oil filter housing gasket leak, and a lot of oil got on the coolant hoses on the front of the motor, caused the coolant lines to swell. So we're replacing all of those lines because they will probably leak in the future. Valve cover, it's PCV issues. It's smoking out of the exhaust and consuming oil. So we're going to replace the valve cover as well. But we're doing a full build, so we're getting a EOS intake manifold with port injection, and we're doing our CES single turbo kit on it as well. So we got the stock twins out of there that were not replaced too long ago. They're actually pretty new.
They look pretty nice.
Yeah, not bad.
We could probably sell them.
Yeah, make some money.
All right, so which bearings did we end up going with?
So our buddy Hayan over at 5150 Autosport, he gave us a package with the ARP rod bolts and his rod bearing sets. I think they are calico coated. So they're coated bearings.
Well, thank you for everything, for all the information, dude.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it. This car is going to be on lift for probably a few more months. You guys have anything to say about this whole project? You've been doing all the work, man.
I have been doing all the work.
You've been doing all the work on the car. What's your thoughts here? His brother actually used to own the car, so now this is kind of like full circle that he's the tech.
I did a lot of work to it already, so
yeah,
I'm kind of familiar with the car already.
He's refixing some old things.
Yeah, refixing some old things.
That's crazy. Cool. Well, these guys are they're wrenching. Zach's working on a Supra. It might be done in like a week. Brandon's working on the shop Supra. Finish that up. And yeah, we'll hopefully have this car done. And oh man, I don't know. It's gonna go up on that lift. We're gonna bring the E36 down, put it into storage, put this car on that lift, and we have to build the kit. So we still have to build or perfect our new engine mount that works with the single turbo kit. And then once we do that, we can work on the piping and finish all that out.
Coolant lines, oil lines.
Yeah, all that stuff. So it'll probably take, I don't know, dude, what do you think, a month?
Years?
Probably a month.
I think a month.
Yeah,
I think if we can really hustle on it, we can get this car done in like a month.
We're just trying to develop the kit, so we're jigging all the pipes, jigging everything,
it just takes time.
building the lines, getting measurements, so we can develop it and have a kit ready to sell.
So we'll update you guys as we go along with the process, but as far as the maintenance stuff, we just wanted to make this video to show you everything that we're doing in this one. Like we said, going with the Insane, holding it like it's this little baby.
Yeah.
River guys.
Going with the 2-pin that we do
Build it
on the
in.
majority of the cars, and then the rod bearings. I know a lot of people were curious as to why we did the rod bearings, and hopefully that kind of explains it. We're just doing it for peace of mind. We were already there. It sort of made sense. And so next step for this car is just to get the single turbo kit ironed out, a few aesthetic things, and she'll be back on the road. Yeah, we have a lot of cooling mods, so we think we're going to end up going with DO88 for a complete cooling package. So we're going to do the EOS billet charge cooler. So we're just going to be like basically upgrading everything to nicer stuff. We got the Mosselman oil thermostat coming, and then a lot of things will obviously change when we go to single turbo. And who's going to tune it? Do you know? Probably Sam or Paul tune the car. We've had really good outcomes with the both of them, especially Sam lately. So I'll probably go that route. But that'll be it for this one, you guys. We will see you in the next one. Peace.